Welcome to the Liberace Mansion.
Welcome to Under the Vegas Sun, looking at the people, the events, and the news surrounding Las Vegas and the entire Vegas Valley. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. We are live from the Liberace Mansion. There are so many different performers in Las Vegas, names like Celine Dion and Britney Spears to the Blue Man Group and even Cirque du Soleil. On our program today, you're going to meet a man who has been nominated and has won so many times as the best of Las Vegas. Not only is he a performer, but he gives back to this community over and over and over again. In a moment, you'll meet Jeff Civillico. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Keith Evans at the Lion Habitat Ranch. We'd like you to come out and visit our ranch. There's 38 lions, a giraffe that paints, ostriches, emus, and birds. We do school tours, general admission, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and behind-the-scenes tours every day of the week. Besides coming in as general admission, you can also pay extra to help our animals, and you can feed the giraffe. You can feed one of the lions, or you can have Ozzy paint a custom canvas for you. You can also buy Ozzy paintings in the gift shop. While we do our demonstrations at 12 and 2 of Ozzy painting, all those canvases are available for purchase. In addition to everything you can do here in person, you can find us on the website, lionhabitatranch.org, where you can make your reservations online or buy your paintings online. Thank you very much. Please come.
Hey, it's Mark Chinook from Monday's Dark, and you are watching Under the Vegas Sun with Steve Schorr.
Producer, headliner, MC, speaker, philanthropist. Roll that all into one with an amazing performer, and you come up with our special guest today. Very proud to welcome on our show, Jeff Civillico. Welcome to our program.
Steve,
Anytime.
Pleasure to be here.
My pleasure,
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're different, I think, than most people would believe in a lot of different ways. You are a graduate of Georgetown University.
That's right.
You wouldn't think that somebody who went to Georgetown University would end up being this comedian, performer, actor, you name it, on the Las Vegas Strip. How did that all happen?
You know, I get asked that quite a bit. You know, it's pretty funny. My parents always said, you know, you have to do what you love, and they really meant it. You know, I feel like a lot of parents, they say that, but they don't really mean it. You know, they say, you got to do what you love, but it has to be something that I've heard of, you know, that fits into one of these categories. I grew up as the youngest of 3 brothers, and we were always kind of taught to live life to the fullest, to get really involved, really engaged. We played sports growing up. We did, you know, music and art and choir and band. And I always was kind of moving from one passion to the next. And I found performing, and it just kind of stuck. Both my brothers are doctors. My oldest brother's PhD in neurobiology. My middle brother is a dentist.
Neurobiology.
That's right.
And the younger brother is a performer
exactly.
on the Las Vegas Strip.
Yeah, but you know, I really got to hand it to my family because oftentimes people want to create this narrative that's just not there. They say, oh, you guys must not get along, or your brothers, you know, they probably don't understand you, or, you know, what do your parents think? Everybody loves each other. It's a very tight-knit family. We all have different skill sets and different passions, and we were always supported. So my parents knew it wasn't the, you know, traditional path by any means, but they always supported me, and I'm really glad they did. They kind of let me find my individuality.
You know, I mentioned at the beginning of the program that here we have a performer who is named Best of Las Vegas numerous times, who has what I consider a very different performance in Las Vegas. You key in on the entire family.
Sure.
You enjoy when people bring their children to your show. It's not the typical adult show of Las Vegas.
Right, absolutely.
And I kind of feel as though that was done purposely on your part.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I grew up doing shows in my kitchen for my own family. That's how it started. You know, I was the dorky kid doing magic and juggling shows in my kitchen.
You were not a dorky kid. Come on.
I was. You know, I was 8, 9 years old. I pulled out the card table, and I had the top hat and the confetti vest and the matching bow tie, and I would do shows. You know, I would do shows for my grandma, for my parents, my brothers, and then, you know, the neighbors and people at school. And so I kind of grew up doing this, and I don't know. I never really felt the need to go blue with my comedy. I just kind of preferred to keep it clean. I think a large part of that was the corporate market, because I moved to Orlando after Georgetown. I did a lot of work with Disney, and Orlando, just like Vegas, is such a big corporate hub, you know, for all these conventions and conferences. And I got asked to MC these conferences and perform, and then that kind of bled into keynote speaking. And if you're clean, you can work all those corporate events, and especially when you're struggling, an entertainer, kind of get things going. Corporate events, they pay really well.
But
so
equally, I'm a speaker at corporate events and,
Yeah.
and MC, and oftentimes there is this belief that that individual who is the MC or the speaker shares a part of their life, because that's where the best stories come from. What's the part of your life that you share the most?
Wow. So I think, you know my nonprofit that I run, Win-Win Entertainment. People don't realize kind of how deeply rooted that sense of philanthropy is to me and to my family. So I would say that's the part that I really enjoy sharing the most, is that story of how that came to be. The first show I ever did outside of my kitchen was at a special needs school.
Outside of your kitchen?
Outside of my kitchen. So I would do these little, you know, private shows, you know, just kind of for fun, for the family. But the first time I ever showed up somewhere and said, I am an entertainer, you know, to unknown public, was this special needs school. And I was 14 years old in high school, and I did a show for this special needs community, and it was so fulfilling that I kept returning. I kept doing shows. That kind of naturally, organically blossomed into doing shows in hospitals and nursing homes and other special needs facilities. And so I really became a charity performer first, before I was a professional performer. Most times it's the opposite. You know, you might achieve some level of success, and then you start doing some charity work as kind of a way to give back and thank you. I really found performing as a calling through charity work.
You know, we've talked to Terry Fader on this program before, and I've talked to Terry about how he got into what he was.
Yeah.
And he always believed that he belonged on the Las Vegas Strip. He belonged as the star performer on the Las Vegas Strip. You're now back performing on the Las Vegas Strip. I want to talk about that a little bit later, but you are performing on the Las Vegas Strip in a wonderful property, wonderful hotel, Paris Hotel. Was that part of who you are? Did you believe that you belonged on the Strip?
Believe it or not, as a kid, I dreamed of having a show on the Las Vegas Strip.
No way.
And you know what? It's a testament to the brand power of Vegas, because obviously at 10 years old, I don't even know what that really means. But I know that Las Vegas, that's the best. You're the top of the top. I knew that was kind of an official stamp of credibility as a performer, if I could have my own show on the Las Vegas Strip. So I didn't know what the heck I was talking about, but in my mind, I knew that if I'm a variety act, right, magician, juggler, comedian, if I could get my own show on the Las Vegas Strip, I knew I had made it. So that was my goal. That was honestly always one of my goals in the back of my mind. I was 26. I was in Orlando working with Disney, working on Disney Cruise Lines and doing corporate shows. And I realized that I built up some money in the bank, and I kind of honed my craft. I felt like I really had a voice, and I had good promotional materials. I could sell myself, and I was kind of in the industry. I was established. And I thought, now's the time. If Vegas is going to happen, I got to go after it. So I packed up my car, I put the unicycles in the trunk, and shoved everything in the car, and I literally drove across country to Vegas to try to get a show. And then I started making some inroads and some connections, and I realized that I wanted to stay there, so I sold the condo in Orlando so I could have some startup capital, and just really went for it here.
So this comes from the man who holds the Guinness World Record for jumping off a bridge in New Zealand on a unicycle.
My mother's so proud.
I bet she is. I bet. There seems to be no limit to what Jeff Civillico is willing to try.
Yeah, that's absolutely that. You know what? I always say I'm excited about life. I like to live life to the fullest. I do every kind of crazy stunt. Like I've done all the bungee jumps and the skydives. I just rappelled down Caesar's Palace. Yeah, that was my 4th time. I did it for Special Olympics off Planet Hollywood 3 times. And when I see something like that, I say, I got to do it, you know. I think it's important to still get scared a little bit, you know, and overcome that fear. One of my favorite books, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Adrenaline's the best thing in the world.
Great.
I'm sorry, it is.
No, it's great. You know, because I feel like if you stop doing those little things and scaring yourself on a regular basis, you get complacent, and then you can just kind of stop taking those bigger leaps. So I love when I'm nervous or scared or a little in an uncomfortable situation, because the more you perform, the less that happens, because you get so comfortable.
But Jeff, your bigger leap is not just what you do on stage. Your bigger leap, and I'm just telling you from what I see from the outside looking in, your bigger leap is when you help young people. A couple of weeks ago, we had a wonderful choir on the program from the Las Vegas Academy.
Yep.
And I know you're very much involved in Las Vegas Academy. I know you do a lot of things with your philanthropic organization and your foundation.
Yep.
But kids and creating future people in this business is what drives you, I feel.
Yeah, it's a huge part. I mean, I remember what an effect it had on me getting picked to be a volunteer. This is how I got started. I got picked to be a volunteer in a street performer show. And I was just a kid, and I remember being up in front of the lights, the rush of the crowd, that adrenaline, you know, and I felt so alive, you know, and I didn't even know exactly what was happening, but I knew I wanted more of this feeling, of this experience. So now, this is actually kind of a cool story, let me tell you. So the guy who picked me to be a volunteer, 20 years later, I found him. I reached out to him online, and I thanked him for picking me to be a volunteer.
20 years later?
20 years later. So I'm reading a personal development book, and it's talking about mentors and gratitude. It says, you know, if there's someone along the way who really helped you, take a moment to say thank you. And I remember this guy's name. His name was Peter Panic. That's what he went by on his stage name. So I Googled him, and of course, peterpanic.com came up. I clicked on the contact page, I called him, he picked up, and we had this really nice conversation. I said, I know you meet 1 million people, this was forever ago, but I just want you to know that that moment, because of those moments, those spinning, changed my life.
Yep.
Parents bought me a book on juggling because of that moment. I got really into juggling, which obviously was just the medium to perform and connect with people. Now I have my own show on the Strip. I just wanted to say thank you. So I tell him the story, there's silence, and then there's tears. He's crying. He's emotionally moved, and he, you know. And
that's what you do. That's what you do.
Well, now I have the opportunity to pay it forward like that. You know what I mean? So now I feel like it's my duty now. So when I, you know, bring kids on the up on the stage and afterwards, and I talk to them, I mean, you know, you can't imagine the.
We're going to take a break for a couple seconds. When we come back, I want to talk about this whole thing that you do on stage that I personally sometimes frightens the hell out of me. But we'll talk about it with Jeff Civillico in just a couple of seconds. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Eamon Springall of Stitched at the Cosmopolitan, and you're watching Under the Vegas Sun with Steve Schorr.
To say he was talented, understatement. I'm telling you, it's the understatement. An amazing gentleman on stage, our very special guest, Jeff Civillico. Welcome back to our program. So you're back on the Las Vegas Strip, headlining at the Paris Hotel.
I'm back.
And before we get to your show, it's been a very tough year for you. You had to take a year off. You had surgery done on your shoulder and your wrist, if I'm not mistaken. For a juggler, that's got to be tough to be able to not only experience, but come back from.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm so thrilled to be back. It feels great, you know, being able to step back out on the Vegas stage. There's something just special about, you know, having a show in Vegas. I've done a bunch of events since, you know, I've recovered from injury, but to be able to say you're back, And then, you have the ticket agents and brokers and people, on the timeshares and people even just a concierge say, oh, so glad you're back. Man, we're so happy we can send people to your show again. So it feels really, really great. The community's been so supportive. But yeah, it was a tough year for sure. Now, this sounds cliche, but getting hurt was the best thing that happened to me. It really was.
Why?
Because I go. I'm nonstop, and I'm one of those guys. I'm a workhorse, and I need an external force to stop me and say, "Hey,
that's a heck of an external
chill
force,
out."
my
Yeah,
friend. I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah, they say, slow down and think about, where this is all going. I had done 5 years, 1,000 shows on the Strip. It was a perfect kind of time to stop, press pause, and say, what do you really want to do with your life? Do you want to continue performing? Do you want to do more of the agency, marketing, PR side? Do you want to focus on your nonprofit? There's a lot more than just doing a show 6 nights a week.
But Jeff, to be honest, you are a physical comedian. You're a physical juggler.
Yeah.
I've seen you juggle a lot of different things, and I'm going, this man is just flat crazy.
Yeah.
But it's physical.
Yeah.
How did you make sure that your body got back to where it needed to be in order to do the things that you do?
Well,
we're going to show the audience some of the things that you do.
Good. I would say I'm about 90% there. I'm still, there's something, that last 10% is just from doing the shows, night after night. So, yeah, I've been going to physical therapy. The good people over there at Sports on Dean Martin, right in the local.
Great place.
Great place.
Yep.
They're fantastic, and they have me juggling medicine balls, and they have me, catching things. They have me throwing medicine balls and gripping them, and doing all sorts of, things that are really tailored to what I do. So yeah, I just tried to kind of lean out and get back in shape.
Okay,
because,
so one of the things that you do, I got to talk to you about. I'm going to talk about a couple of things, but one of the things you do on stage is you balance a 14-foot ladder on your face.
That is true.
I mean, that's not something, you don't walk around the house and going, what is around? If there's a 14-foot ladder, let me see if I can balance it on my face. How did that happen?
So that's actually that's a great question, because when they say when you're in a tough spot, that's when you kind of find out what you're made of, and you find another way, right? You get creative for a solution. So I performed on a cruise ship, and my luggage never arrived.
But your 14-foot ladder did.
Well, there was a ladder backstage. Right, so what I did, I always knew how to balance things. So I can balance, a spoon on my chin or my nose, or, that's, I know I may sound like a weirdo, but that with what I do, it's pretty common to be able to balance the smaller items, right? And so I realized, okay, what about this deck chair that was lying on the cruise liner, the sunbed? And so I was able to tape the piece of it together that would flap up, and I was able to balance that on my chin with some practice. And then again, I practiced with the ladder, because I needed to get material to do a show later on in the week. So I went to Cartagena, Colombia. My gear never arrived. I think some people somewhere opened up my juggling trunks and were very disappointed to find
I'm sure.
only juggling clubs and rings. But they hit the jackpot. So I was still on the ship, and I had a week, and they said you can do your show on in 4 nights from now or whatever. And so I raided the galley, and I was juggling oranges, and I was putting together everything I could. I was balancing the wet floor signs on my chin, just kind of relying on the audience interaction and the improv and pulling a show together. So that's where the ladder does come from. It was born out of necessity, and then it was so popular that now it just became part of the show.
Has it? Okay. Hopefully the audience is watching right now. You balanced this ladder.
Yep.
How many times did it fall on you before you figured it out?
See the scar right here? Honestly, I have a scar right here. Is the only time some wood to knock on. There's no wood, just marble, because it slipped off. It slipped off, and it came crashing down and bled a fair amount. But fortunately, that was the only time.
So let me go from you balancing a 14-foot ladder on your face, which I'm not really sure how sane that is, to something that's even crazier. You juggle things like bowling balls and saws and
meat cleavers
and
machetes, anything. Because that's what the people want to see, Steve. You know, they don't want to see somebody juggle scarves. They want to see the element of danger, you know? I mean, it's hard because with juggling, you might think, well, I don't want to watch a juggler. I never refer to myself as a juggler, although I do juggling, right, of course. But
You're a comedian.
Yeah, I'm a comedian who juggles, who balances,
Right.
who does all this stuff, right? But if you say, who would see a juggler, I wouldn't even want to see a juggler, right? So you got to make it interesting. And so that's why you have all these crazy elements. Right? You're juggling, you know, plungers and machetes and, you know, chainsaws
Bowling
and
balls.
fire and ball. Yeah, everything
Bowling
else.
balls.
Bowling balls, you know, different sizes and weighted objects because, you know, our attention spans these days, you know, it's so short. You got to keep switching it up.
But if
you
you've
know?
got a machete in your hand and you've got a meat cleaver in your hand and you've got
Yep.
a bowling ball in your hand,
Yep.
okay, Jeff, how do you practice that without slicing your arm apart?
Yeah, that's the tough part. Fortunately, when I was a kid, you know, when you're a kid, you try anything, right? I mean, you have no fear. Fortunately, I learned a lot of this, believe it or not, when I was a kid.
Is it balance?
Yeah, I mean, the juggling, the machetes are weighted the same way as the baton. So once you learn to handle spin, you know, how you kind of deal with spin. If I throw a meat cleaver up in the air and it's flipping, believe it or not, I can tell when it's up there if it's going to come down in the right spot or not. So I can either adjust it or I can just let it go. So I'll let it fall on the ground before I...
Stop. How can... How do you
Sorry,
tell?
is this too much? Is this too detailed?
How do you tell?
It's just a feel. It's just you know, it's that spatial kind of awareness that only comes from being a physical performer. You know, like just like an aerialist kind of knows, or it's very similar.
This is going to be a strange question.
Yeah.
Out of everything that you juggle, everything that you do in the show,
Yeah.
what is that one thing that Jeff says, "Oh, I love to do this, but oh my, I don't."
So the chainsaw, I juggle a chainsaw, and
When it's running.
when it's running.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so I was at the Link for a while, and it was a nice big stage, and I was able to juggle a chainsaw and fire. I moved to a smaller room at Flamingo and now a smaller room at Paris, so the fire codes don't allow with the gas for me to do that.
Right.
So that's one of those ones where I'm like, I'm not that upset that I can't do
That you
that.
can't do fire-
because I actually
fire and
genuinely was
chainsaw,
nervous.
really? Okay.
Yeah, fire not so much, but the chainsaw made me nervous. Only because the audience was nervous, because I'm a fun, goofy guy, and even when I'm juggling a chainsaw, you know, the tenor in the room kind of shifts because hopefully by then they like me and they don't want me to get hurt, and you know, they make me nervous. In other words, seeing them nervous. It's like having your mom in the front row. My mom came to see the show once, and she's seen it a bunch, but one time they sat her in the front row. And I said, don't sit her in the front row.
She sat her there any place.
The usher was like, oh, you got to sit your mom, of course, in the front row. But she's terrified, and she's looking like this the whole show, and that's
Good
making me nervous.
confidence for you.
I know, because she hates watching those, you know, tense moments, and it just made me more nervous. So
When you
anyway.
look at your life, when you look at the things that you've done, and I've been to your shows, I love at the end of your show, the audience invariably will give you a standing ovation. It's just wonderful to be able to watch. When you look at your life, though, and you balance, juggler, balance the things in your life.
Pun intended.
Exactly. What gives you that balance? Is that the part of you that gives back to the community via the young people? Is it the audience that never leaves your show without being thoroughly entertained? I would
Right.
believe they go home to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or Las Vegas, Nevada,
Yeah.
and talk about this crazy guy.
I'm
The
huge.
balance
I'm
is-
huge in Sheboygan.
I know you are. What gives you that balance?
You know, you nailed it with the philanthropy. You know, I try to have a philanthropic element to every piece of my business. So in Vegas, the show now at the Paris, it's on Wednesday night. We give a different local nonprofit a percentage each Wednesday night. So again, there's a philanthropic piece. When I do a corporate show, I use the Tom's shoes, the one-for-one model. So when I do a corporate show, I also offer a free charity show to a charity of the company's choosing. And if they don't have a charity, then I route it through Win-Win, through my nonprofit. And same thing, and the nonprofit work, of course, with Win-Win. So that really helps keep me grounded, and you know, it just helps you with perspective, and just kind of gives a deeper meaning and purpose to all of it.
Well, I kind of believe as though you are the next generation of performer that is so well-rounded in everything that you do that I think communities like Las Vegas, are very lucky to be able to have you. This has been a very fast half hour. All I can say is thank you for being here. Hopefully people will go see Jeff Civillico in person, because you are delightful. And to know the kind of man that you are, that gives so much, at the same time loves to perform so much, is a wonderful thing. So thank you, my friend.
I really appreciate it.
I really do.
It's an honor to be here.
As I said in the beginning of the show, this is a very, very unique individual who offers so much, not only of himself to this performance, but to the community. And I think we're all luckier because of it. We'll be back with some closing words in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Visha Calderon, an immigration attorney. Migrating to the United States legally can be tricky and costly. My firm offers fast, professional, and cost-efficient service for you and your family.
Hi, I'm Frankie Shinta, downtown's king of entertainment. You're watching Under the Vegas Sun with Steve Schorr.
As I had mentioned during the program, he is an amazing man that over and over and over again gives back to the community. Not only is he a great performer, but it's so wonderful to know that as a performer, he continues to give back and maybe lights the future for some young people in our community, in any community. Jeff Civillico, thank you very much. Until the next time, I'm Steve Schorr. Be safe and enjoy life under the Vegas sun. News. In today's world, news has become even more important in our lives. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. For some 40 years, Las Vegas has been my home, and it's been good to me. Now, I want to give back. That's why I started the Now Report, the independent voice newspaper, fair, balanced, unbiased, online and mobile, and it's free. The time has come for an independent voice because news is important. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. I've been proud to host the TV show Under the Vegas Sun. We've had mayors and entertainers and some of the true movers and shakers of Las Vegas. Well, we're growing again. We'll now be seen in 209 cities in America through our network, Walk TV, as well as in 6 foreign countries. And in Las Vegas, we'll also be seen 4 times each week on Cox Communications, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m., and now Sundays at 7 p.m. on channels 1096 and 96. I just wanted to say thank you.
This has been a presentation of VA TV.